welcome back. Today is a highly requested video. We're going to be making gluten-free, vegan, high-carb, low-fat pizza. So I wanted to make a gluten-free recipe because I have just a normal pizza recipe that I made it before, and I'll put the link to that below if you're not interested in like a gluten-free dough. But I got this dough from Bob's Red Mill, and it's just the gluten-free pizza crust, and I've wanted to try it forever. It's made basically with just a bunch of different kinds of flours, and I guess like this mix is like the closest to a wheat crust that people have found. I've just heard a lot of really good things about it. So this is what we're going to be making today, and then after this we are going to do a mukbang. So I want to get started and start this crust just because I have to wait like 20 minutes for the dough to rise and all that kind of stuff. But the crust ingredients are basically just one bag of this, and then we have 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. So instead of using eggs, we're going to make a flax egg, which basically you take 2 tablespoons of flaxseed and then 6 tablespoons of water and just pour them together, and you have to wait maybe a couple minutes and it will pretty much make like a thick consistency. So this is just basically like a binding agent, which you're going to use to bind all the ingredients of the crust together so it doesn't crack and split and all that kind of stuff. So there actually is a yeast packet in here, but I don't feel like digging around to find. Oh, it's right there on top. I got it. So in the packet we have 1 thing of dry yeast. So what we're going to do with this yeast is mix it with a cup and a half of warm water. So basically the yeast goes into the bowl, and then you want to use warm water that's a little bit warmer than I'd say room temperature. So lukewarm water. If the water is too hot, it will actually kill the yeast, and then the yeast doesn't do anything because it's dead. So lukewarm water, just a little bit above room temperature, you can just feel it. Or else, I'm not even sure what degrees they like recommend or anything like that, but maybe 80 degrees would be good. So we're just gonna pour this into here and give it a stir. This packet makes 2 pizza crusts, so we're gonna make 2 high carb, low fat vegan pizzas today. So you just want to stir the yeast around. So you want to let the yeast sit for about 5 minutes, and you'll see it start to kind of bubble up on the surface. And then the next thing that you add in is the oil, because this uses 2 tablespoons of oil, and then you just pour in the rest of the dough slowly and just kind of incorporate it. But we're not going to be using oil today. People always ask me like how I replace oil in recipes. So if I'm baking or something like that, I will just either replace the oil with a plant-based milk or just water. So it calls for 2 tablespoons of oil. I'll just use another 2 tablespoons of water, and it always works out perfectly. Things might not be as moist or as like gooey because you're obviously not using oil, which oil really creates like a more luscious, you know, fatty kind of dough or muffin or whatever you're trying to make. But it comes out a little bit drier, but it is fat-free. You're not using any oil or anything like that. And the flax egg really kind of gives it more of a real dough consistency. So we're still using some fats, obviously, with the flaxseed, but we're not using oil. So I'm just gonna let this sit for 5 minutes, and then I will be back. Alright, so it's been about 5 minutes, and as you can see, our flax egg is very eggy. And basically what we're gonna do now is just stir in the dough. So what I do is I just slowly stir it in. Babe, can you grab me that like little mason jar that I put water in the kitchen?
Little mason
It's
jar?
like one of the little ones. I just put like 2 tablespoons of water in it.
You want water in it?
No, there should be like just a teeny bit of water in it. Thank you. My handy helper demon. So I have the water that is substituting for our oil, and what I like to do is I like to season the dough So I would not recommend putting salt in your dough because you're not going to taste it at all. I've tried it before. I've put like a tablespoon of salt in dough before and you cannot even slightly taste it. But I'll show you what to do at the end to make more of like a cheesy, traditional pizza flavor. But you don't want to put it in the dough because you're not going to taste it. But what I do use is like this Italian seasoning, and it just basically has basil, oregano, rosemary, garlic, onion powder, and some other seasonings. So it gives it just like a really nice pizzeria flavor. So I usually put like literally like a tablespoon or two in here, like a lot, just because I like flavor. Okay, and then I'll just stir that in. We will pour our flax egg in here. And we will stir that in. The dogs are making sure that I'm not screwing any of this up. They're like supervising. So now I'm just gonna slowly pour this in, and you can do this if you have, obviously a hand or a stand mixer. Don't use a hand mixer, I've tried. But you want to do this slowly, because if you just dump all of the dough in, it's going to be really hard to incorporate it all, because it's not going to work very well, trust me. You want to make sure you're like scraping the dough down off the sides, getting it all in there. It smells so good with the seasoning in here. And you could put other seasonings, like you don't have to put Italian seasoning. And the closer that you get to the bag being gone, the slower that you actually want to do this. So when I get to about a quarter of the bag left, just add in the rest of the water. That would be our oil. This is where the mussels really come in. So if you can see the consistency of this, it's still really, really wet. Like, we don't want it to be like that. Is mommy doing a good job, Dewey? Am I doing a good job? Huh? Give me a kiss. So at this point, you can really like get in here with your hands and really just mix it around, because you want all of the flour to be incorporated into the dough. You don't want any like wet spots or anything like that. So what you can do is obviously take it out of here, flatten it out, and kind of knead it. Now, I'm not like a pro at this, but my pizzas turn out pretty good every time, so I feel like I know what I'm doing somewhat. Kneading is basically just folding and flattening the dough to incorporate the ingredients some more. Alright, so I don't really have any more dry spots or anything. It's all pretty well incorporated. So what we do now is just put it back in our bowl, and then we're going to cover it with saran wrap and let it rise for 20 minutes. So like I said, I'm not a pro at this. If you guys have any tips, for people or myself about kneading or making dough, please let us know down below. But girl, I've never had a pizza that this boy did not want to eat, so they've all come out okay. All right, 20 minutes and I will be back. Alright guys, so it's been 20 minutes, and as you can see, our pizza dough is kind of like busting through the saran wrap. So what we're going to do now is just take half of the dough. I just cut it with a knife. And then we're going to roll it out on one of these mats. So you could use, Bubba, go on. So you could use parchment paper, or whatever, but I like to roll them on these mats because then I just slide the mat onto one of these trays, and pop it in the oven. So I'm gonna be using a little bit of quinoa flour. Ooh. Just because we're trying to keep this gluten-free. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on my mat here. Now, some people have like given me crap for not hand pulling my pizza doughs and stuff. They're like, oh, you're rolling it, like that's so terrible for a pizza. It's like the worst, you know, the hand rolled or whatever hand pulled pizza is like way better, yada yada yada. I'm like, whatever, man. I do this because it's easy and I am not like a professional baker. I just really like pizza and I like to make it at home because I know the ingredients that are going into it. So as you can see, it's like nice and fluffy, but it is still a little bit wet. So to roll it out properly, we need to put a little bit of flour on it just so that it's not sticking to our rolling pin. And I mean, you could just press this into the shape that you want. But like I said, I'm gonna use my rolling pin because it's way easier. So you just wanna get flour on it so that it's not wet in any spots and it's not gonna be sticking to the rolling pin. And then we're just gonna roll it out. And you just want to get it so that it's basically level. So it's basically level all the way around. If you can see that. And then I just slide this underneath and it's ready for the oven. So I'm just gonna roll out the other one and then we're gonna throw these in the oven. So I have my oven preheated to 425 degrees. I'm just gonna throw these in the oven for 7 minutes and then I'm gonna take them out and then we're gonna top them and then throw them back in the oven. So it's been 7 minutes. As you can see, our pizza is a little bit cooked. So we just want it so that it's not a raw dough and then we can add our toppings. So this one is gonna be mine. So I'm gonna add lots of spice to it. Some sriracha. Because we have some that I wanted to use up. This is just a fat-free marinara sauce. So I'm just going to put this on here. You guys can add like whatever toppings you want. You can mix red curry paste into your tomato sauce. You could mix like whatever you want. I like to use a lot of tomato sauce just because it's like my favorite part. So I really pile it on thick. Then next, what I'm gonna put on mine is some green pepper, red pepper, mushrooms, and I really like to pile on the veggies. We're gonna put some spinach on here as well, which usually I'd put this on here first, but I kind of forgot. You'd want to put the spinach down first because it's gonna kind of act as like a base and help everything stick to it. Basil, fresh basil, red onion, carrots on here too, just for color. And then in here I just have some thawed pineapple and corn. So the only thing that I would recommend not using on a pizza like this, if you're gonna put it in the oven, is like frozen vegetables, like frozen spinach or frozen bagged vegetables, just because they have a lot of water in them and they're gonna make your dough just very wet and it's not going to come out very good. It's gonna come out like mush. So either thaw your vegetables and let them sit and drain for a while, or just use fresh stuff. So then I'm gonna just add some fennel to mine because I really love fennel. And then to get like the cheesy flavor, because we didn't add salt into the base of the pizza, we're gonna add nutritional yeast to the very top. I just like sprinkle it on. And then just a little bit of salt, like a pinch of salt. Because cheese is like a salty flavor. It's basically cultured with like salt and enzymes, like whatever. So if we just add a little bit of salt to the top of our pizza, it's gonna give it a lot more flavor than any salt in the crust would, and it's gonna really bring out like the flavor of the nutritional yeast and all the other stuff. So it's gonna really feel cheesy like a real pizza. So I'm gonna throw this one in the oven on the bottom rack, do Derek's pizza, and then when I put Derek's pizza in the oven. I'm gonna switch them so that they both get time on both racks, because I have one rack on the top and one on the bottom, and we want them to cook evenly. The good thing about veggie pizzas is you can literally just put tons of stuff on them. All the toppings make them like a few pounds and eat the whole thing, and you're not gonna gain any weight. They need about 15 to 18 minutes, so obviously mine is gonna be done first, and then I'll switch Derek's at that time to the bottom, and we'll see how they come out. Alright guys, pizza is done. So these turned out, like I took a bite of it because I had to take a photo of this. This is like honestly probably the best pizza I've ever made. And it's gluten free. Is it good?
Really, really good.